Go. We're good to go. Okay, my name's James Smith from the Crafty Pint. Haven't seen many of you over the last couple of days. I've been in room one hosting the whole time, but been upgraded to the big room for the last session. We first pitched doing a debate along these lines, I think probably 4 years ago, figuring it would be a means of discussing some of, I guess, the important elements of the beer industry, good or bad, in a fun way. And the topic, which I know is a bit of a sort of fun one, seems as relevant today, if not more. In terms of structure, we're not going to be really tight to sort of debating society rules, although we will sort of follow the structure reasonably closely. So we have two teams arguing the affirmative and negative. They will choose, I think, how they want to interpret the argument. We will start with one from one side will present their argument back and forth, presenting three from each side. And then one thing we'll do that's a bit different after that, we'll open it to the floor if anyone has any questions or if they want to stand up and present their own argument for either side. We'll do that for about 10 minutes. And then in terms of who wins, that will be decided on noise for either side. Hopefully to sort of send people off, really sort of fired up for the Indies or really depressed about how shit everything is. Hopefully the former. If the latter, at least we have beer. So very quickly, in terms of the panelists we have today, we have Jade from the Wheatie. I'm pretty sure everyone in the room knows Jade. Probably knows more about craft beer and independence than just about anyone. Always happy to discuss ideas. Whenever I've known her over the years. Also last year's Lifetime Achievement awardee at the Indies and a past trophy winner for Wheatie Brewing Core beers. We have Callum Reeves, who's the co-founder of Kaiju and Golden Axe Cider, also an IBA board member at the minute, behind one of the most colourful brands and T-shirts and merch in the country, and has now been left running the business on his own by his brother for 6 months while he goes to theme parks in Europe, so go easy on him. And Luke, who back in his Melbourne days was an acute and fearless commentator on the beer industry under the Ale of a Time banner. He now runs a small brewery called Shortjaw in, is it the paradise of New Zealand, South Island? The Jewel of the South Island, Westport, who is over here helping run the conference. We were going to have Craig Williams from Moffat Beach, was going to be on this side. I got a text from him at 7:30 this morning saying, I'm at emergency at Gold Coast Hospital. I appear to have detached retina. Please, can you get someone else to fill in for me? So we have Will, who's the senior writer at Crafty Pint.
It's now been confirmed as detached.
It's now been confirmed as detached. But other than that, hopefully he's okay. No sympathy. So Will has been handed Craig's presentation, said to me this morning, I can have some fun with this, and as he walked into the room went, I only realised 10 minutes ago which side I was arguing for. So with Will, and with Will we have Amanda Baker, or Bakes, who I first dealt with at Modus, now been up at Lost Palms, so he's actually our local rep from Lost Palms on the Gold Coast, where they're responsible for marketing, branding, the amazing labels you see on the cans, and I was also, second time you've been on stage with me today, was presenting on diversity in room one, or room two, whatever it's called, earlier today. And then Emma, who started out pouring cask ale in the UK, and is now the venue manager extraordinaire at Beer Farm in WA, also has a whole bunch of other roles involved in the industry. Most importantly, and she's sick of me saying this by now, she once took a photo of my mum and my niece for her art project at university, which I didn't know about. Which I didn't know about until she won the Young Gun of the Year last year. And I was like, oh, and she's like, my mum's sending me photos going, yeah, look, this is a photo of mine. Anyway, by the by, Emma is the final member of our panelists tonight. So, we will start with, I believe, Callum, and then we'll come back and forth. I will hopefully keep out of the way now until it's time to take questions from the floor. So, has craft beer jumped the shark?
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and fellow beer professionals, today we gather to discuss a matter of the utmost importance. Has craft beer in Australia jumped the shark? While some may argue that the Aussie craft beer scene is thriving, I am here to assert, nay, confirm, that in fact it has jumped the shark. Craft beer has darted in with its lactose and glitter-powered cloudifiers to take the mantle of Australia's biggest shark-related flog from Greg Norman. My name's Callum Reeves, and I'm the co-founder of Serial Offenders Kaiju Beer. Also arguing the affirmative is Jade Flavelle, who shares considerable blame, having founded the Wheatsheaf Hotel in Adelaide, one of the great craft beer institutions in Australia, and Luke Robertson, a long-time enabler, who saw the writing on the wall and jumped ship back to New Zealand, only to find out it's probably worse over there. Friends, picture this. A land where beer lovers used to gather around to enjoy a simple, classic pot of fizzy yellow liquid. Then one day, someone decided to throw in a handful of hops and call it craft. Little did we know, this was the start of an absurd, outlandish beer revolution that has now escalated to the point where you're likely to find a beer infused with more fruit than a tropical smoothie. Let's start with the innovative flavours that are cropping up in our brews. It used to be that a beer had just a few ingredients: water, malt, hops, and yeast. Simple. Now, I walk into a brewery and they're offering me a beer with flavours like bacon, avocado, and even pizza. I mean, come on, are we really supposed to believe that a beer with pepperoni garnish is what the craft beer trailblazers envisioned? Craft beer has gone from being a refreshing beverage to a bizarre experiment in culinary confusion. It almost makes one look back fondly to a time when Jumping the Shark referred to Moondog's truffled imperial stout. Oh, that's cute. In response to this, One Drop Brewing can rightly say, "Hold my beer," coming out with beers such as Double Vanilla Custard Pancake Imperial Nitro Thickshake IPA, the beer that put 1,000 doctors' children through private school. No wonder regulators want us to put nutrition info on our labels when we're making beers like peanut butter creme brulee, mango lime chutney, Baltic porter. I see Derek Hales over there writing that one down right now. Friends, we are now resorting to any lengths to try to find the magic product market fit that will result in meteoric Bolter-style growth. Once upon a time, the only pack formats available to the consumer were the stubby, the 6-pack, and the slab of 24. Now you can get 4-packs, 8-packs, 10-packs. I'm reliably informed that a major retailer is now asking for suppliers to start packing in 23-packs if they can't achieve the necessary pricing on a 24. I've never tried to arrange a double-digit prime number myself into a neat package, but I'm sure the boffins at West Rock and PacTech are up to the challenge. And Kaiju Beer is by no means immune. Look at the shirt the boss made me wear today. In conclusion, while craft beer in Australia may have started as a noble endeavour to bring variety and innovation to the beer scene, it has undoubtedly taken a leap into the absurd, with flavours that belong in a salad rather than pot glass and names that could pass for a hell-raising incantation. I think it's clear that craft beer has jumped the shark, and friends, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Okay, so I've kept this pretty much to what Craig has written. I removed a few swear words, but other than that, we're good to go. Good afternoon, legends. As James and my esteemed opponent, Cal, mentioned, myself and my team are delighted to welcome you here to the final session of the conference, or what is more commonly known as the community radio graveyard shift of any industry event. But fear not, as I won't be stealing your indies preloading time with esoteric metal bands from Florida. No, we're here to tell you today of why craft beer has not jumped the shark. That's in all capitals. Or in fact, any other form of ocean predator. We will convince you of this truth. Not, as our opponents may contend, by shouting about examples of ridiculous beers or ill-considered brewery social media stunts. These are just fluff. Very noisy outliers that exist not only in craft beer, but on the fringe of every single industry known to man. Interesting use of gendered language by Craig, but I didn't write it, guys. No, today we will convince you of the truth that through reasoned argument, a look at the bigger picture and cold, hard facts. Now, I learnt most of my argumentative skills from my 14-year-old son. I knew that was going to get me. And we'll debate by actually questioning what we're even arguing about. The title says craft beer has jumped the shark, but what does that even mean? And it turns out it all started with Happy Days. An interesting aside and a fun callback, Happy Days is actually the name of a very esoteric metal band from Florida. But I'm talking about Happy Days, one of the most successful sitcoms in US history. This is like a Wikipedia entry. In 1977, at the very height of its popularity, with some 23 American viewers, the writers decided to have Arthur Fonzarelli complete with a leather jacket and on water skis, literally jump a shark, taking the show about as far from the original premise of everyday life in 1950s America as possible. Hence, jumping the shark, the moment when something well-known and with a well-established direction takes an unexpected turn that leads to inevitable demise. So what does this mean for today's argument? It means that this statement is saying craft beer, all of us, this whole industry, craft beer, together, we have firmly established our direction. We have a vast audience that knows exactly what to expect from us every time they tune in, and that somehow we have broken that trust by taking the whole industry in a completely opposite direction. I don't think so. We haven't jumped the shark because, to be honest, we're not even at the shark jumping stage. Shark jumping happens when an industry runs out of ideas. Have you run out of ideas? He told me to point for effect. You've just sat through 2 days packed full of ideas. On this conference alone, we're not even close to pulling at the fins. Shark jumping happens when everyone knows who you are, what you do, and what you offer. And then you go and do something vastly out of character. Are we even there yet? Line up 10 beer drinkers against a wall and only one of them is regularly drinking craft beer. Now, we can certainly shock, upset or offend that lonely craft beer drinker. There's plenty of examples of that. But we don't even have a passing acquaintance with most of the potential customers out there, and it's hard to burn a bridge if no bridge even exists. Believe it or not, we're still considered a young industry, still growing and finding our feet. While in brewers' years, it might feel like centuries have passed, in reality, it hasn't been that long. And with growth comes growing pains, moments of stupidity and rebellion, mistakes made and hopefully lessons learned, much like my 14-year-old son. Whew, that's the last stumble, hopefully. Sure, there are maybe a few minnows being hopped while we figure things out, but certainly no shark has been jumped. My esteemed colleagues here, Bakes and M, will tell you more about the growth path we're on, the maturing of our industry, and the sophistication we're bringing to our brands, our audience, and our products. And while times are pretty tough for everyone right now, there are healthy signs of an industry constantly looking to improve and be better, to reach more people and to welcome them into the positive craft beer environment. So that when we do get to that point, when everyone knows us, respects us, and has a clear understanding of who we are and what we stand for, that we as an industry are ready and able to look down on those stupid water skis and leather jackets and say, as one, nah, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad we're not arguing against his 14-year-old son. I reckon it could be quite entertaining. So I'm going to argue that we indeed, collectively, of course, have jumped the shark. And part of that argument runs that we've effectively have run out of ideas. Is it a matter of maturing the industry or late stage? You know, I can speak from personal experience. So I'm also fond of mixing metaphors. So talk about jumping the shark. I want to introduce a little bit of Animal Farm here. You know, I'm going to take it further than my esteemed colleague Callum in that, you know, we've got perhaps the regularly trundled argument that we do such bizarre things with beer, such ridiculous additives that we've just gone beyond the bounds of anything sensible. But I'm going to take it even further and argue that we've completed the circle. So we've become that which we started out, you know, which we sought to resist from the very beginning. So craft beer, as Bob pointed out this morning, was kind of, you know, it grew from and in response to and reaction to mega lager, big lager, big beer, and that was not the enemy, but it was something to, you know, in opposition to, something to resist against. And, you know, there was craft and there was macro lager, there was craft and there was big beer. You know, it was a simple kind of world for a long time, and it made sense. And we had values that, you know, and interests that, and priorities that arguably quite different to big beer. But we're seeing increasing ways that craft is behaving like big beer. So whether it's tap contracts, you know, whether it's a race to the bottom with pricing, whether it's breweries who started out, you know, being here to, you know, to take part and now not taking part, they're taking over or they're being taken over. I think things have kind of changed, and, you know, it seems like we've completed the circle where craft is starting to act a bit like big beer, and effectively the pigs are running the farm. you know. And so again, no truck with pigs, no truck with pigs. But it does call into question the very claims that we say, you know, craft makes about itself in terms of integrity and quality, all those kinds of things. So I'm thinking about pulling together all the threads from the last couple of days for the argument today, and repeated, you know, over the last couple of days is the notion that macro lager is the new craft. You know, we're all looking for volume. We're looking for mass appeal. We're looking for a cash cow, effectively. You know, and in and of itself, you could argue that macro lager, if craft is macro lager, we've jumped the shark. We've become that which we resisted and which we find ourselves in opposition to. But we're starting to act like big beer. We're starting to taste like big beer too, and the two are becoming very closely entwined. So we're drilling down a little bit on this, and I think there's been, you know, effectively reinforced earlier in the day, you know. And what we've come up with is a prop which has got to be worth 1,000 words. Cerveza is the new craft, and many would agree. If Cerveza is the new craft, craft is in danger of losing its soul. Thank you. Yes, thank you. We got there. But to be really clear as the bottles that it invariably will come in, we're talking macro cerveza. We're talking macro Mexican lager. You know, Mexico has a very long, very proud history of brewing, from the Mayans, then to the Europeans, amber lagers, Viennas, etc. We're not talking about that. Good beer and a very proud craft movement in Mexico. We're talking about Cerveza Grande. We're talking about macro Mexican lager. Mexico exports $4 billion worth of the stuff, and Bob was talking about that early. And I reckon there's a couple of Oz craft breweries who are starting to be quite amused and quite enticed by that proposition. So style guidelines: colour, un poco; clarity, mucho; malt aroma and flavour, nada; hop flavour and aroma, nada; bitterness, very un poco; and body, almost nada. So we're in a style where the beer, you know, where quality, in a style of beer where quality is defined as an absence of flavour, it's kind of the vodka of the beer world. And again, is that something we want to be hanging our hat on as craft breweries? It's very close to the proverbial sex in a boat. It's fucking close to water, you know, and something that we resisted for so many years and set ourselves up in opposition to for so many years. How does a punter differentiate between craft and big cerveza? If the only difference is in price, it's not a good selling point for us. So what we're talking about here is volume and the attraction of volume and the belief that there's an inverse relationship between flavour and mass appeal. If you want someone to appeal to a lot of people, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be pretty bland, quite frankly. We all need volume. Volume's okay. You know, we all need some to stay alive. And there's some merit, you know, to the trope of the struggling artisan brewer, I think, you know, and if the Matildas of their phenomenal performance has demonstrated anything, it's demonstrated that if we want the men's team to be anywhere near as successful as the Matildas, we need to start underfunding them. I think there's volume at what cost? So volume at what cost? Do we get a short-term sugar hit, but it damages the whole brand of craft? You know, if we struggle making volume, do we give Asahi a tap on the shoulder, ask them to boost our capacity, and then maybe ask for another tap on the shoulder a few years later, bail us out? The justification is often give customer what they want. I've never heard something quite as ridiculous in my life. We're not about giving the customer what they want. They don't know what they want. You know, craft wouldn't exist if we just gave customers what they wanted. You know, in the good old days, we told customers what they wanted and how they wanted it. You know, we dragged customers kicking and screaming. It's 2003. Drag them kicking and screaming into the crafted world of craft and flavour. You know, and in a world where IPAs had bitterness and Cantillon was challenging, we struggled so much to sell Cantillon in the early days. So it was Gers or in any iteration of the Cantillon beers, or about half a dozen of us would drink it. And in an attempt to kind of entice punters into drinking Cantillon circa 2008, bought a couple of bottles for the bar and just poured it out amongst punters at the bar. And what ensued we now refer to as a canty-tanty. And it was an absolute an absolute tantrum for a group of regular customers who, quite frankly, should have known better, who were convinced we were trying to offload off beer on them, and we were insulting their very concept of flavour, and like proper full-blown canty tanty, which is now just something we refer to. Fast forward 6 months, and one of those canty tanty is buying a 6-pack of Cantillon when you still could do such a thing. You know, no one knew they wanted an anchovy smoked porter before we brewed it and gave it to them. You know, no one knew they wanted a Van Diemen estate saison before Will brewed it and put it in front of them. Our job is to tell people what they want to drink, and it's to introduce flavours and characters that they didn't know existed. And anyone who's genuinely interested in flavour, as Bob mentioned, we can find a beer for. You know, and it's our job to match what people want with what we've got, not to give them what they want, which, you know, if we go back 20, 30, 40 years, was just this, you know. So again, we've come full circle. And is this, all of this work, this journey, all the educating thousands of customers, all these conversations, you know, the IBA itself, was it all for this? Was it all for this? You know, are we just going to be brewing something that it's, you know, that is about as minimal when it comes to flavour as possible? And you might think creating a bit of a straw man here or a straw gringo when it comes to the argument, but by this summer, and I reckon there are a few breweries in here, we'll have a sea of Cerveza. We'll be awash in a sea of Cerveza. You know, and brewers here know that, and they kind of know that it's got past the point of ridiculousness. Now we're moving into something that's so easy drinking that it has become an anathema to craft, any definition of, or any organisation that was established to promote craft in itself. You know. And a lot of talk about lifestyle brand. If there's no substance to the beer, it's all about lifestyle, and we're all talking about lifestyle. But it's very, you know, might be something to do with where we are. But you can already, you know, we're in a Gold Coast state of mind, you know, and Queensland, beautiful one day, Cerveza the next. And just as Bob spoke of migrants increasing the demand for Cerveza, Queensland has its Mexican south of the border, which is pretty much every other state in the country. So I think, you know, there's an opportunity that is about to be snatched up. So in the absence of flavour, it becomes less about the steak, more about the sizzle. It's all about the concept of drinking a beer from where you'd rather be. You know, less interested in chasing the next Pacific Ale. A Pacific Ale from the brewery formerly known as Independent was a genius beer. You know, it's of this place, has hops in it, has Galaxy in it, you know, and it was easy drinking, but it was also characterful. And we've kind of moved away from that. Now it seems we're more interested in Pacifico Lager. And when OJ mentioned ISO hops at the earlier tasting, saying, no, we've got ISO hops on the burner, I don't think he was referring to Cerveza. Like, there are going to be some very nervous hop growers in the next 6 months, I reckon. So, again, a lifestyle brand, you've got to be sure you got the right lifestyle. You know, because not everyone likes a beach, you know? Sand's nasty stuff. Not everyone loves a casino. Not everyone loves a cruise ship. Not everyone loves all those three things together, you know? Particularly in bottle form in a beer. Do we really want to put all our faith and focus on a lifestyle brand that fades as quickly from the minds and hearts of punters as it does from their palates? Have we raised, you know, are we flying the white flag to big beer? Have we given up? To summarise, if Cerveza is the new craft, which it's pretty hard to deny that now that T-shirts say that, then craft has well and truly jumped the shark, both theoretically and in fact. And worse than that, it's run out of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jade. And I would like to start with, if everyone can join me in thanking Jade for her contribution to the industry again. But if we are going to look to the future of the industry, I think we should probably leave it to the young gun. As James mentioned earlier, for those of you that don't know me, my career started in the UK, taking photos of people's family members, apparently, but in a much more established industry over there. So although in Australia a lot of my experience comes from the West Coast, when I arrived, it absolutely felt like I'd arrived in the Wild West. there seemed to be a total lack of regulation, compliance, strategy, and businesses had every opportunity, and some took every opportunity to jump said shark. Beer farm included. I don't think I've met anyone from WA that doesn't have some sort of permanent injury from going down the black tarp that Beer farm called a slip and slide. But like it or not, I am here to argue that our industry is more safe, compliant, and more mature than ever. So although we are going through an extremely tough economic period, costs are rising, tap contract opportunities are slim, but we've also heard over the past couple of days of the potential that is still available in our industry. And now I have insert other people's research as my own here. So as we heard in Richard's welcome yesterday, the people in this room currently hold 7.3% of the Australian beer market, with the IBA working towards a target of a 15% share within the next decade as part of the Future Brew strategy, with that focus on business sustainability. We've heard from Nick Boots about, although we are currently a stagnant market, there is room for growth and there are new markets and audiences that we have not even yet reached. The research from the IBA Look for Seal campaign shows that it resonated with, unsurprisingly, 45 to 50-year-old males, which highlights the opportunities still available if we focus on inclusivity within our branding, products, and our strategies. We've heard the importance of training within our teams, and those training opportunities are expanding every day. We've got Wesset launching this Brewing Cert 1 and 2, we've got the Brewing Cert 3 coming to our local TAFE in the southwest, and our Australian Cicerone community are providing more virtual education than ever before. Inclusivity within our industry and advancement for women and non-binary people is more positive than ever. In my experience working with the Pink Boot Society, we delivered 4 scholarships a year up till 2019, and in the last 2 years alone, we've delivered 39. 4 of those recipients are here today because of those opportunities. Is anything sounding ridiculous yet? Have we jumped the shark? We've heard of the potential of Beer Australia, not only from a national advocacy level, but also as a way to unite the beer industry with one voice. Not only that, from a tourism perspective, we all see the adverts of Australia, the beaches and the wine, and the beer should be a reason that people are coming to this country. We've heard the importance of collaboration. In a time where logistics costs, material costs are through the roof, sharing knowledge, experience, and resources is going to be the key to survival, especially when it comes to opportunities like activating export markets. Not only that, there's also the impact that craft beer has on other industries. Of the 11 breweries in the southwest region, 87% of our repairs and maintenance costs are spent with local trades, which is invaluable to them. We've heard of the impact of a hospitality offering on your top line of your business, especially if you make investments into customer experience, staff training, and events. And we've also heard about some fantastic sustainability initiatives, such as CO2 recapture, as well as the work of Rocky Ridge and Bintani bringing certified sustainable malt with an 80% reduction in carbon emissions. Are our opposition trying to say that all of these speakers are wrong? Do any of these points... Does it sound like our industry has gone too far? It does not sound like the craft beer industry has become so ridiculous that there is no going back. No, it does not. Yes, times are hard, but as Bob said this morning in his keynote, the only constant in life is change. So in conclusion, save the sharks and drink craft beer. Thank you.
What this team hasn't done at all is no one's told us what the shark is. We're saying we're jumping the shark. We're seeing the footage of the shark. No one has actually said what the shark is. Cullen, I think, was saying that the shark is the beer, which I think is true. We've jumped all sorts of ridiculous sharks with all sorts of ridiculous ingredients. Jade talked about big beer being the shark, that we've jumped over it and now we're part of it. We're all the same thing. I don't know if these guys even know what a shark is. I'm not sure what their arguments have been. We all had an argument about that was the end of Happy Days. Happy Days went for 5 more seasons after the shark jump. Continued to be the highest rating TV show on network television. We're saying that jumping the shark is a bad thing. Before he jumped a shark, Henry Winkler was a creep. He hung out with teenagers in his 30s. He jumped a shark, That set his career off. He became a campaigner for dyslexia. Since then, he's won 10 awards. Anyone want to have a guess at how much Henry Winkler's worth? $50 million. He jumped the shark of himself. He jumped the shark of beer. He jumped the shark of ingredients. And he found himself. So jumping the shark is what we've done, and we've done something really positive. We've managed to clear it all. We've left it all behind us. We're no longer that creep hanging out with some teenagers. We're no longer meeting in an office that's a bathroom. Look at where we are now. So I'm going to leave this really short because I had rebuttals, but I mean, there's nothing to rebut from these guys. I've got like half a sheet of paper prepared that is blank because they've said nothing. I just want us to all recognise that, you know, we finally jumped the shark of ourselves, and that's really nice. We've found that inner peace. We can enjoy our cerveza by the pool. It doesn't really matter. And then we can no longer be a creep. We can make some money, and we can win some awards. Jumping the shark is great.
I didn't know this was a Henry Winkle fan club meeting. I'd have got t-shirts made too. So as Craig or Will, as Craig or everyone saying, the shark is safely and securely located in the depths of the ocean, far away from jumping or punching, and that is another bolted joke. There's been a few around. I'm just jumping on the bandwagon. It might not seem like it, but we're at a pivotal point within our industry. We are learning and evolving. We've never had access to so much information and education and technology as we do now. We have a direct line to our consumers, which is a good thing or a bad thing, whichever kind of way you're looking at that. I'll leave you to that to decide. But we're expanding our industry to be more inclusive, more diverse, more educated. We're taking more risks, and we're seeking that higher reward. Craft beer is multi-generational, and just when we think we've hit the ceiling or found that shark, it turns out the ceiling was glass, and then we have so much more further to grow. We're constantly evolving. There used to be a copy and paste ideal around the perfect brewery setup and the perfect staff to sit in that perfect brewery setup, and it worked well until it didn't. Because breweries don't need to be dark and brooding and filled with stainless steel and obnoxious know-it-all dickheads that glare down at you over the top of their perfectly polished Deku glass while you ask a simple and valid question: what's the difference between a pale ale and an IPA? They can be bright and welcoming and accessible and open. They can be filled with dogs, obscure artwork, and families. They can push the boundaries of normality, and they can also feature an array of faces behind the bar and on the brew decks. They can follow trends, they can tell them to fuck off and do their own thing. They can see the importance of putting policies and procedures in place to ensure the safety of their staff and patrons, because I've seen what happens when they don't. They can hire artists and illustrators and extend the limits of what is considered art. Craft beer isn't just about the brew anymore. It's a culture, it's brand identity. It's continually listening and learning from your customers, your staff, your clients. It's embracing positive change and growth, asking questions and then listening to those answers. If we've given up with our glory days behind us, slowly bobbing up and down in the wake of what was once was, would we as an industry strive to be better? Would we create amazing spaces like this and come together, share knowledge and education, to hold panels of inclusivity within the evolving industry and then share the most up-to-date technology? As both of these people here, I'm just going to say Will, Craig, probably, where we are, we do have some growing left to do. But in the meantime, we have so much positivity to kind of continue to focus on, and we have a very, very long way to go. So if craft beer has jumped the shark, what the fuck are we doing here?
Thanks, everyone. That's most I've laughed in a while. It's been great. Right, so does anyone have any questions for anyone or to put to both panels or any panellists, or would like to add to the argument from either side? Oh, yeah, Richard. Sorry, Rich. I even asked you for Richard or Richard yesterday, and I was just going with Richard straight away.
I just wanted to make a comment, and I think the term "jump the shark" is "jump the shark."
All right, so that's on me. Anyone else? Do you just want to get... Oh, yep, hang on.
I want to ask Jade, when does the cerveza go on tap?
A couple of months' time. we brew many light lagers. And cerveza, as I said, the difference between macro style and intent. But no, without doubt, we'll be brewing cerveza. Without doubt. And we might, have a look at some more craft interpretations. Maybe, barrel aged cerveza. Dry. Currently working on an oat cream cerveza. Stay tuned.
Called OC Amazing. Anyone else? Anyone? Are we gonna go to the vote? All right. This is the big one to decide whether BrewCon A is a success or B even needs to happen again. So we'll get a cheer around applause with the one you prefer. So if you believe, I'll go through it first. If you believe that craft beer has jumped the shark, make some noise. If you believe that craft beer hasn't jumped the shark, make some noise. If you believe that beer is the winner, make some noise. Oh, we'll go with the third one. I want to say thanks everyone for coming along, especially this late on day 2. I know we've still got drinking and the indies to go. Everyone that's got beers entering the indies tonight, best of luck. We'll see you there. I'd love to say thanks to the panel, Luke, Jade, Callum, Bakes, Emma, Craig/Will /Craig's 14-year-old son. Thanks to the IBA for putting on a great couple of days and what still lies ahead, and everyone who's been sort of behind the scenes in all the venues, in all the rooms over the last few days as well. Thanks for coming. Let's have a great night and go indie beer, go shark jumping. We'll do whatever you need to do. Have a nice beer.